Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk About podcast, a series brought to you by Tallaght University Hospital with the support of the Adelaide Health Foundation. In this 6-part series, we're going to cover safer mobility and the various things that can affect our mobility as we age. In this first podcast series, let's talk about safer mobility and falls. Falls are a significant worry for older people. 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 will have a fall each year, and the risk increases with age. Over the course of the 6 episodes, I will speak with a number of colleagues at TUH who are experts in this area. We will talk about how we can improve mobility as we age, and how to reduce falls and injuries from falls, and if someone does fall, what we can do to help them. We hope this Let's Talk About podcast series will help older people, those who care for older people, and healthcare professionals develop a better understanding of falls prevention so people can stay active, keep moving, and enjoy life with confidence. Hello, my name is Paul McElwaine and I'm a consultant geriatrician working in Tallaght University Hospital. And welcome to the 4th episode of Let's Talk About Safer Mobility podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Tara Coughlan, consultant geriatrician, and Eimear Digan, senior dietitian.
Hello.
Today we are discussing the importance of maintaining healthy bones, conditions that can lead to unhealthy bones, and nutrition advice on how to keep them bones healthy. So, Tara, when we say bone health, what are we talking about?
That's a good question, Paul, and I suppose it does sound a little bit strange. But in the same way that we talk about physical health and mental health, it's about the things that we can do and the things that we can avoid in order to keep our bones and our skeleton healthy and to avoid breaks and fractures. Our bones are really, really important parts of our body. They allow us to move and to walk. They protect our organs. They act as stores for things like calcium that our body needs and can give out to us at times when we need it. So it's really about doing the things that will enable us to maintain our bones in order to protect us for all of our life.
So how can unhealthy bones lead to problems, and what conditions do we look to treat as healthcare professionals to avoid these problems happening?
We know a lot more about bones now than we used to, and we know about how bones work. So our bones are constantly changing. Our bones regenerate themselves every 10 years or so. And when we're younger, our bones build up faster than our bones break down. But as we get older, that balance shifts a little bit and we tend to lose more bone than we're able to make. And this leads to brittle bones or osteoporosis. And that can lead to things like fractures. So you can see from that how important it is that we build up big and healthy bones in our young adulthood. We make as much bone as we're ever going to have by the time we're about 30. So the more bone you have when you're 30, the more bone that you will have when you're older, when you start to lose bone. So those are the things we look at as professionals, is how to maximize or build up the most amount of bone that you have, how to keep the most bone that you have as we get older, and how to avoid things like fractures. And that includes things like avoiding falls. And there's lots of things that we can do to avoid falls. One of the most important things is maintaining our muscle strength. And a lot of that has to do with our exercise and our diet. And I'm sure Eimear's going to be telling you more about that.
Yeah. Okay, so Eimear, clearly nutrition is a central issue when it comes to bone health. So what is it about our diet that impacts our bone health so much?
Well, hi, Paul. As Tara has made reference to, eating well and eating right is paramount for keeping muscles and bones strong. That building strong bones, as Tara has mentioned, begins early in life. So this is something that we really need to be mindful of all the way through our life. Just not eating correctly or undernutrition can result in loss of weight, loss of muscle, and loss of bone strength. And that can then lead to an increase in the risk of falls, osteoporosis, and fractures. So not eating enough also means that we don't have the energy to do the exercises that we need to be doing to keep our bones strong. So protecting our bones and keeping their strength requires adequate amount of energy, food in the right balance, making sure to get enough protein, vitamin D and calcium every day.
So can you highlight some dietary changes which you could try to improve their bone health?
Yeah. As I've already said, maintaining a healthy weight with adequate amount of energy, protein, calcium and vitamin D is really the essence of bone health. But what do I actually mean by this? So a general rule of thumb when it comes to energy is to make sure to have 3 main meals every day with the snack in between the meals. And this will make sure that you get the right amount of energy that's required. Now, oftentimes people may skip a meal. They may skip breakfast or they may skip lunch because they're too busy or they're not hungry enough. But so this is a key point that all of us could take on board right now. Also, if you're aiming for weight loss, the same pattern needs to apply. You don't reduce back on your meals to become a healthier weight. Maintaining 3 meals with just healthier snacks in between meals is maybe the way to move forward. Also on protein. Protein is a key building block for bone and muscle. And with regards to protein, you're aiming for high quality protein at a minimum of 2 or 3 meals every day. And by protein, I mean meat, fish, eggs, cheese, milk, and include them in at least 2 or 3 meals every day. Now, you've already made reference to the song, Them Bones Need Calcium. So calcium, of course, we all know is one of the key building blocks for bone. And really, the average older person needs to be taking about 3 portions of dairy foods every day. But what is a portion of dairy?
Yeah, I mean, that's what people listening at home would wonder, what exactly covers them for their daily allowance.
And what we know actually is that the Irish older adult isn't taking in enough of calcium or dairy portions in a day to meet their needs. So a portion of dairy is a glass of milk or the milk that you might have in cereal, a matchbox size of cheese, a pot of yogurt, or a really large bowl of rice pudding or custard. But getting this in every day can be very difficult. That if oftentimes older adults don't like milk, they have like bad memories of having milk at school or warm milk or curdled milk. So they often might avoid dairy sources. So if somebody is only having 1 or less source of calcium in the diet, a calcium supplement might be recommended, and this can be discussed with their doctor. Now, together with calcium, somebody will need adequate amounts of vitamin D. And vitamin D, we know, is essential for bone and muscle strength. It is also, poor intake of it has also been linked with falls and reduced muscle strength. We know that vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin, and it's made in the skin when it's exposed to sunlight 10 to 15 minutes a day during the months of March and September. But in Ireland, this really doesn't happen.
A little bit more challenging, I think.
So we also know that vitamin D intakes of older Irish adults isn't sufficient. So in recognising this, Department of Health guidelines is that any adult over the age of 65 should take a vitamin D supplement of 15 micrograms or 600 international units of vitamin D3 every day. Now, there are dietary sources of vitamin D, and these would include oily fish, which would be mackerel, herring, trout, salmon, or egg yolks. You can also get foods fortified with vitamin D, fortified milks, cereals. But I think this won't be sufficient to meet the needs every day. Okay. So taking a supplement is probably best.
And I might go back to Tara about this. Are there other interventions you can do to protect your bones, which you would suggest to people, particularly if they worry about their mobility or that they're at risk of falling?
Well, Eimear's right. Diet is extremely important, but diet without activity, I think, is only going to get you so far. So one of the things that I think we don't talk about enough is physical activity. And that would be one of my really top tips for keeping your bones healthy, is staying active. But it's not just, you need to be doing weight-bearing exercise. And that means exercise that moves your muscles and bones against gravity. So things like brisk walking upstairs, dancing, light jogging, things like that. A lot of the time, I think that we don't emphasize enough to older people the benefits of physical activity and staying active, not just for your bones, but for your entire physical well-being and your mental well-being. I think that in combination with a good diet, particularly a very balanced diet with the supplementation as needed, is really something that more people should be doing. So while children need about an hour of exercise every day, weight-bearing exercise, older adults should be getting at least 30 minutes of weight-bearing exercise every day.
And Eimear, I don't know if there was anything else you would consider simple interventions perhaps you could suggest.
There will be some lifestyle interventions. We know that smoking is associated with an increased risk of falls or weaker bones. Also, high alcohol intake as well is associated with risk of falls. So if one is a smoker, maybe consider stopping smoking. Maybe this is the time to take it on board. If you drink alcohol, just do so moderately. Also, I would just make reference to fluid intake in the older adult, or all of us really, because good hydration is really important to prevent dizziness or keep blood pressure up, or can also help prevent a confusion as a result of dehydration. All of these factors can lead to falls. So really, we all should be taking about 1.6 to 2 litres of fluid every day, unless there's been a medical condition where you need to have a fluid restriction. So these would be another few tips that I would give to people.
And we'll actually discuss a little bit around hydration in the next episode as well.
Okay.
So it's really helpful. Lots of really important information there. If you had one take-home message, I'll start with Tara. What would it be?
My take-home message would be get active and keep active. And if you're wondering how to start becoming active, there's a lot of resources in the community about weight-bearing type exercises and balance exercises, which are also very important to maintaining your bone and muscle health and avoid falls. There's an exercise program in our own community, the XWELL program, which is for people with all abilities. So even if you haven't exercised in a long time, it's never too late to start.
And Eimear, over to you.
Well, Paul, I would have 2. One is that loss of weight and height is not a normal part of ageing, and that it's often a sign that somebody may be at risk of osteoporosis and fracture. So if you notice that you or someone that you love is losing weight or height, or has a poor appetite, low energy or low mood, just flag it to a healthcare professional. And if you are a healthcare professional, a nutritional screen or a screen for osteoporosis would be really beneficial, and flag it to the right healthcare professional then. The other thing I'd say is, whoever you are, now is maybe the time to start minding your bones. I mean, it's not just something that applies to older people. It's, as we've mentioned, it applies to all of us. So just to take a moment today to just look at how you're eating and how you're living. What weight are you? Are you getting your protein sources at 2 to 3 meals a day? Are you getting in your 2 to 3 portions of, or your 3 portions of calcium every day? Are you taking a vitamin D supplement? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? So take the time to just reflect. Just for a few minutes is all it will take to just, are you minding your bones?
Great. Well, thank you, Tara and Eimear.
Thank you.
For talking with me today. So remember, them bones need calcium and vitamin D, which is excellent advice, but possibly a less catchy song title. Join us next time for episode 5 of the Let's Talk About podcast, when we will be discussing low blood pressure, continence, and the role these play in falls. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.